So.
You have a minute, you have a minute for your comments, so go ahead, hurry.
I have a question about mulch.
Oh,
This is a comment.
there is actually some mulch in the,
There is in the consent.
I saw
agenda.
lots of mulch. in
Yeah,
there.
there's a lot of mulch in the consent agenda.
I thought that would make you happy, just having your mulch.
Is this agenda the same?
No chance.
No change.
See, the same as my little having.
Yeah. And
Oh, is it the?
hey, be gone with that.
Get that.
Right on.
Oh, yes.
Way. The meeting for the 18th of December of the CROA Board of Directors. And was the meeting properly noticed?
It was probably notified.
Well, that's a good thing. Have 6 of it. That's a quorum.
We're all here.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's do that Pledge of Allegiance thing. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Without objection, I'm going to call the meeting to order. And we're going to start with owners' comments. And remember, quality over quantity. There's a lot of you. So we're going to hold everybody to the 3. But there are a lot of you. Starting with Robert Staten. Step on up, please.
Evening, everyone. Robert Staten, 516 Long Meadow Street. At the beginning of the year, I stood up here and showed you all this picture. So last week, had the drone guy up and we took some more pictures. It's worse. There's no.
Excuse me, could you show that for us?
There's no watering going on. I highlighted this last time. We've got Parks and Recreation Committee, we've got Dog Park Committee liaison. No one's responsible for maintenance. Brian Exquisite, when he met with the Dog Park Committee and Celia, said that it was going to be 25,000 a part to replace the grass and it should be done twice a year. So my point to Andrew is in next year's budget, will there be a line item for $100,000 for grass for the dog park because no one will organise the watering? Earlier in the year, we also talked about mulch. At the meeting at the dog park, Brian explained to us that he was doing it in 3 layers. He was doing it in 3 hits because we said that the pipes were exposed. We showed. He said, we're coming back and doing it again. Brown Manor's had people there. He's never been back. This area's never been done. Nobody's overlooking it. Nobody's looking at it. This area was never done initially and there was no more visits done. At Long Meadow Street, where I live, very grateful for the spending of the CROA board, even though I feel actually it's a wasting of money because it's being done backwards. I know, Jared, you live around the corner. Don, you live around the corner. They've planted underneath. The trees under CCM were trimmed every year so that they grew back. I had lucky enough to have coffee with Jacob during the week. He said that Grand Manners had met with Exquisite and that they'd agreed that this was a photo opportunity under here. That's fair enough, but I think that that's the board's decision, not Grand Manners. If the trees aren't going to be trimmed and they fall over in the wind, you guys have got to make that decision. And if the decision was that it was for a photo opportunity, this is Savannah Square, December 8th, 2020. 4 years later, after, I believe, $50,000 has been spent. This is the photo opportunity at Savannah Square on the 8th of December this year.
Okay, Robert, thank you so much. Next up, Paul Battaglini.
Yeah, hi, Paul Benjamin, 1321 Hudson Avenue East. I quickly will tell you a couple of things. One, I am the chairman of the dog park committee, and everything that you've seen there is a fact. People have stopped bringing their dogs there because they get so filthy. I mean, it's not a big fix. We can fix it. We got to do it. Secondly, I have complained since the hurricane that the fence leading into the park is broken. It leads, the door doesn't open properly, doesn't seal the dogs in. We've actually fixed it with twigs to hold it up. Again, that's been reported since the hurricane. There's no excuse for that. You saw Savannah Square, 4 years difference. You know what the difference is? Grand Manners and a board that doesn't open response. That's the difference in the two pictures of Grand you just saw at Savannah Square. We have to hold a response to it. I sent a text to the board, giving them ideas on how to do this. One of them would be to have all the worksheets done duplicate. When they come in, they're stamped with the date, one goes to the board, they keep one. If in fact they do not respond within 48 hours, Grand Manners should be fined. If they do not correct the problem within 2 weeks, unless there's an exception, I understand that, Grand Manners should be fined. We have to start holding them responsible. This is what I said to the board. Please consider holding Grand Manners responsible with time limits for maintenance products, parks, and other sundry work. GM should judge on their success or failure to complete projects in a timely manner. This is the answer I got. Thank you, Paul Badley, for reaching out to CROA board of directors. We will ensure to keep this in mind when working with our management team. We agree products should be completed in a timely manner and the standards of community expression. Please, if you see any areas of concern, let us know. Are you kidding me? Take a walk around and see all the areas you want. This was signed by a board member. They didn't even address the issue.
Paul, call me out if you're gonna call me out.
I'm sorry?
Call me out if you're gonna call me out. Everyone else in this audience does. I wrote that.
Yes.
You didn't say anything.
Eric, it's a,
I don't hold you responsible. That's an absolute, what the board, that represents what the board is doing. We have to have some accountability. I'm not saying get rid of Grand Manners. We just gave them a lucrative contract. Make them be held responsible financially, just like you are when they come to your house and tell you got a problem. Thank you.
thanks, Paul. Now, Gary. Hudspeth.
Good evening, Gary Hudspeth, 1471 Resolute Street. I read the performance metrics that are in the board book for tonight. It appears most of my recommendations were incorporated. However, you introduced an error in the very first metric for work order completion. If you look at the data source column, you're collecting data from, it says, My Celebration app and or internal maintenance work order logs. It shouldn't be and or. You shouldn't give them a choice. It should be both. I recommend you say and eliminate the word or. Having said that, I'd like you to look at the big picture. Stand back and look at what you've written for the metrics and ask yourself, are all these necessary? Just because the management fee is a factor of 10 doesn't mean you need 10 different metrics to match it. You should choose metrics that mean something that isn't already accomplished by your board direction. I don't think they're all necessary, and I invite you to look at that. What's something you didn't talk about is training. These are short-term things that you look at each month, but many of us have talked to you about training as a long-term solution, and you should bring that in to train our own staff to do a better job of what your expectations are. That's the long-term solution. Finally, I want to mention a cover page that says the cover page of the board book says the board tasked the management agreement task force for recommending performance metrics that would be the basis for financial penalties if they were not met. I wanted the public to be known that the board resolution for the task force did not mention the word penalties. It only asked for recommendations on performance metrics to be evaluated. The word penalties doesn't exist. Oh, by the way, one more thing. Now that the board has created and updated the metrics for the management company, I'd like you to look at your responsibilities in accordance with Florida statutes. The new law enacted that updated 720 as July 1st says that a director of an association must complete at least 8 hours of continuing education annually. And I asked how many of you have done that, because it takes two sides to make this thing work. The residents expect you to fulfill your duties in accordance with 720. So, thanks.
Thank you, Gary. Now it's Sarah Wick.
Everyone, Sarah Work, 2303 Celebration Boulevard. I sent an email earlier today and I just want to read it for the sake of the record and for the people who aren't CC'd on that email. So I wanted to make sure the board was aware of a petition that has been casually been going around in support of renewing the Grand Manor's contract for 1 year as opposed to 3 years. While some may think this was an exercise in futility, I think any time the community is engaged, everyone benefits. The link to the petition was included in the email and approximately 90 signatures were there. It was casually sent out. Homeowners have repeatedly expressed their sentiment and frustration with Grand Manors officially and unofficially with this petition and the survey that was sent out a year or so ago. Homeowner sentiment was basically discounted and continues to be discounted. What is there in having the work sent out for a bid? Years ago, actually a year ago, approximately, even Charles Richards in September of 2023 wrote to me that we need to go to RFP. What positive changes occurred to warrant a change in direction? Even for those of you on the board who support Grand Manors, it is just good business to get additional quotes for the work to manage our town. Further, as in the past, team members who perform well can be retained by a new management company. Several issues with our management company can be detected simply by walking around town. Our dog park specifically, the smaller dog park, is a field of dirt or dust. Is anyone actually checking to see if the landscapers are doing their job on Mondays? Where on earth is the shade for Spring Park? Why does it take multiple emails to convey election results or ballot results? Why does there seem to be a revolving door of Grand Manor's employees, but yet our executive director, Lauren Gunyon, is still the same when teams fail to perform? Typically, they fire the coach. We can do better. We deserve it.
Mike Jackson, your turn.
Mike Jackson, 413 Sycamore Street. Merry Christmas to everybody. I'll see you again. Till after Christmas. First, I sent you a note this morning, and Jacob and Lauren got it also. So I'll be brief. First, I apologize for the typos. I did that pretty quickly, so I was racing from one place to another. So it was at least typos. Big thing with me, so I apologize. Gary talked about metrics, performance metrics. I'm disappointed that a metric in there about staff retention and training is not in. I think you've got nothing but a bunch of transactional items in there that are symptoms of what the underlying problem is, which is turnover within our staff and knowledge and development. So you can treat the symptoms, but you're not going to solve the problem if we continue with that turnover. It is an endless wheel that you're just going to be in. So I would really encourage you when you talk about that tonight to consider putting in something about employee retention and turnover and development. Second, I touched on this briefly at the last workshop. I think we went off the rails a little bit, and I tried to reflect on it, figure out what happened. I'm not sure how it did, but actually I felt that people thought I was promoting a new building as opposed to a remodel. And that wasn't the case. That wasn't what I wanted to portray. What I wanted to portray was we need to have comprehensive due diligence. And comprehensive due diligence includes a in-depth look at a new building relative to everything else. That's just the way you do when you spend money. So I really was frustrated by the way that came across, and I apologize for that. In there, I also made a note about the remodel and an observation, could maybe do a hybrid. There's space in the back of the building. I alluded to that, the alcove behind going out the back door. Measured, I used a tape measure, so I'm close, 50 by 53 feet. That's 2,750 feet. We can build that out, square up the building. Probably the setback is not potentially right there. We could potentially go a little further towards the sidewalk. I don't know, but call it 2,750 square feet. A second story would make it 5,500 square feet. I know that requires an elevator, but that's just at the one floor, that's about a 20% increase in floor space. So that's a lot of space. Consider we'll have contractors on site, and there's basically 2 walls and a roof you got to put in. I know that's an oversimplification, but that's about what it comes down to. The other thing that I would like to see you ask Kalik to click to do that. It's part of their scope of work. That'd be pretty easy for them to do as we move forward. So that'd be more comprehensive look at a remodel building. The other thing I would ask them, other thing I've asked them to do is the center space. Have them identify how much space they're going to get from there.
Thanks, Frank.
Okay.
Thank you. Paul Dunlap, your turn.
Hello. My name is Paul Dunlap. I'm at 1231 Celebration Avenue, right down the road. Yes, I'm going to be part of the chorus of maintenance. My wife and we do bike rides 2-3 times a week, and we love riding on the boardwalks. And I've noticed that the maintenance on the boardwalks had been non-existent. I know we used to get them power washed at least twice a year, and I don't think they've been power washed in over a year.
Just listen to Paul, that's a different board.
Sorry?
That's a different board. That's the CCDD board.
How you doing, sir? Happy to talk.
We'll talk.
Absolutely.
But just to let you know, that's not under our purview.
Never mind. We'll tell what anyway.
All right. Kelly Walton.
Hi, good evening. Kelly Walton, 114 Parlor Avenue. I also am the executive director of a partner program for swimming, Celebration Cycles. And I wanted to thank everyone for bringing the pool heaters to attention. It's been in need for a while because it's been happening frequently where it breaks down in the winter and it's becomes very problematic. I just wanted to make sure that we're exploring all the options that we possibly could, because I really think, I know I went to the workshop and I just feel like we need a solid solution that's long-term. And I want to make sure that we're not just putting a Band-Aid on something that needs a larger fix, if you will. So again, I thank management and the board for addressing that. And I just wanted to make sure that we're getting that done and as fast as we can. I don't want to, but in a timely manner. Because it really has affected our town. Right now, there's no heated pool in town. The heater is also broken at the hospital pool. So with no heated pool in town, I mean, aside from obviously running the swim team, there's a lot of people in town who are older or have arthritic problems, and it really is a huge benefit to them. And my husband and I see them at the pool all the time, and we're all just really wanting a heated pool back. So whatever you guys can do, we really appreciate. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. All right, that ends it unless we have somebody else who didn't sign up. We have somebody online? See anybody? All right, then, moving along to motion to adopt the agenda.
Make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Yes, with revisions. Second. Revisions?
If we, I want to move the service area liaison update out of the committee updates and into a discussion item. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, so this is a separate discussion around service areas. Sure, that's fine. And then we want to add organizational health as a discussion.
Can you elaborate?
So tying into turnover and productivity and kind of what we heard from Mike and Gary, and we're not going to solve that in this. I think we're going to have a separate.
Yeah, the one thing I worry about is because we've got a hard stop at 8.
Yeah, just so
We have CCS, so I know when we get to discussion items, I'm going to say, are these really timely or can we go to January?
Yeah, just setting the table for the January workshop where I think we can dedicate a little more time.
Okay.
That's all for me.
One is email communication referencing committees. Which should be pretty quick and
Do a discussion item?
yeah, discussion item. And then one other discussion item that I'd like to slide prior to the management contract would be discussion item to extend grant manager's contract to 1 year and issue an RFP based on the email we received earlier today. So pretty much just a discussion before we have the action item.
So that would be moved before.
Well, that would be discussion of the item.
That would be a discussion during the,
It's a discussion item.
During the action.
yeah, that would actually be during the action.
If there's more than 2% of homeowners that have a petition signed and brought forth to us, it needs to be an agenda item. A discussion item, I believe, would be an agenda item, so we put it on.
We haven't gotten an official,
I know, but it's timely with.
But we don't have one.
I think it's.
but I'm saying that it could be discussed as part of the action. We have a discussion period in there.
We don't have an agenda item for the initiative. that was-
I'm opposed to adding another agenda item.
It's an initiative placed before the board of something that's been recently voted on. It hasn't been voted.
Right, we haven't voted on it.
Well, technically, we voted on the.
Yeah, but we have a
Right.
finalist.
This is a second confirmation of what it is.
I'm not discussing. Yeah.
So
I'm just
I mean,
putting it
we'll
out
have
there.
discussion.
If you don't want to put it on there, don't put it on
I
there.
don't,
Just say-
I think we can have the discussion during the agenda item.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's a conversation.
Anything else? Okay, all those in favor of adopting the agenda by adding G, H, and I? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approval of the minutes, motion?
Motion for both.
Both. Second. Any changes? All those in favor? Aye, opposed? Financials.
Jen's online.
I see Jen over there.
Hi, good evening, everybody. So the October financials, or excuse me, the November financials were in and they were overall positive. Well, not really positive, I should say. Year to date, they're positive for the, let me open that.
For November, they were negative.
Yes, they were. I apologize. All of a sudden, my computer doesn't want to open any PDFs. So for November, we had a loss of 33,000, I believe it was. Yeah, 33,000. So for year to date, we're at a loss of 22,000, doing better than the projection that we thought for the year. This particular month, the drivers were some hurricane cleanup, and we didn't unfortunately have very good resales to drive the income side. So currently the fund balances are as follows. Operating is at 1.6. Reserve is at 1.4 and capital is at 4.1.
Any questions?
Yeah, just comment would be, earlier in the year, I was saying that we were gonna have a 6-figure deficit and our expenses through November are 185,000 over, but fortunately between other income from investments and covenants that is balancing it out. So we're only at a $22,000 deficit through 11 months, which I think is very fortunate. So hopefully.
Which, considering the lack of resales, quiet real estate.
Resales to pass through. So
And all the pine.
Yes, yeah,
I'm talking about.
and all the pine mills.
Pine mills that you approved.
there.
Yeah, hopefully no, December doesn't rock the boat too much on numbers, but I would consider it a win where we're at.
Yeah, I think so.
Where we finish up.
Okay, anybody else? Motion, the financials,
Make a motion to approve the financials.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Now let's do some committee and partner updates.
I'll start. I have no updates.
That was fast, that's good.
Just want to set the tone.
Charles will do one.
So communications, few things from Ginny, our chair, SMS activation, which is text messaging. So that was a priority that came out of the advisory group from a couple of years ago. So they've been working on a rollout plan, the best practices guide. So that's a really important communication channel for residents. So really excited to see how that gets operationalized. 2025 marketing planning, so they're coordinating with the team on guidelines and planning. That also impacts CJC and CROA as well. They are developing standards and best practices for channel by channel communications, looking at redundancy, making sure that we're not having too many communication channels out there. I think that was part of the decision to sunset Twitter or X or whatever it is right now. And they've been working on some other initiatives like charter FAQs. They're also looking at crisis communication planning, which I think is a really, really good topic. So we have some good PRs on the committee. So they're an excellent committee, and I'm really excited with all the progress that they've made as a new deactivated committee. Recreation, they approved all of the contracts that we're going to be approving today. So they've been very, very busy there. Mattamy has been quiet. County's been quiet. The schools, can we get something with Terry? I feel like that's the one area that I haven't given a lot of attention to. It'd be good to get kind of a cadence of meetings with them. Obviously with Island Village, with the elementary school and whatnot.
Yeah,
There.
the rec committee wants to engage too.
Okay, so maybe we get something, if you don't mind reaching out.
Charles, I think on that related note, I didn't know if we needed to vote as a board to release the letter that we received from the school district in regards to the property adjacent to.
Yeah, just to make it clear, I asked for that at Andrew's behest.
Yeah, but it technically can be requested by someone, but it's like before it just gets requested by everyone, I don't know if we can include it, just. in
I
some-
don't see why
I don't
not.
see
It was not meant for any,
Osceola is.
it's public, yeah.
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 So to me, I'm just trying to get ahead of all this requests.
Yeah. And again, for the record, that letter was stating that Osceola County has no plans nor anticipates having plans to sell off any of the KA property.
So if we're in agreement, then that's fine. That's sort of, so I.
Yeah, that's.
Somebody send it to us so we can.
You have,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you-
you copied? No.
No, it's just growing.
It was just the board.
Oh, okay.
That's why I was asking the question.
Yeah.
This is one area that doesn't, it's always hard with CROA because I know we don't solve everything. I know your speech at the beginning that we're a homeowners association, we've got CDD.
Yes, we are.
I
Please
get
don't
it.
forget.
I get it. There's been some feedback I think about the elementary school and just car line and some safety things around there. So not that we can necessarily impact that, but I think it may be a good idea to talk to them, just get an idea. And maybe we get CDD there too. I think
That's what sheriffs do.
yeah, it's always good to advocate for residents, so just been hearing that. So, have any other communities, service area we detach? That's all. Covenants is. How's smart webs?
They're user.
That's great.
On the topic of that letter, I think it'd be appropriate for you, Don, as president, to send over to CCDD regarding that, because my understanding was they were kind of leading that charge and we were never
Yeah.
gonna get it, but they were, but I feel like.
I
as a pro board,
assumed
as a
that
pro board-
I assumed that they knew since the school board member said it's a done deal.
But again, we should have reached out to them because they were driving.
Why would I reach out to them?
Because they're another partner.
Yeah, I know, it's great. Pardon me?
They're the
I know,
ones that
but
would be
all,
getting it. not-
excuse me for a sec. I asked you, why, I would reach, I asked specifically at your request. Specifically.
I never
at-
asked you.
Yes, you
to
did.
Directly over to me.
No. You
I said, I need that information.
You said, I
And
need
you're
that
gonna have-
information, and I said, I will get it for you.
I just think it's a common courtesy that for other entities that we work
They can
with.
cer, I can,
that their
that we
information
can
has to
certainly
be-
share it with anyone in the community. But I would have assumed logically, that if they're telling us, who didn't approach them, that they're not doing anything, that they would have told CCD.
But again, CCD would be able to respond to them, not us.
I think they were copied on the original message. I just don't.
I'm just
I
putting
mean,
it out there.
I asked, you asked, I delivered. That's it.
Do we recognize anyone for?
Well, since we've got a CCDD update coming up,
Oh, well, sorry. No.
so I think we'll pull in the CCDD update and do it all at once. Any other committee reports?
Just real quick on ARC, the ARC committee thanks the board for considering of the laptop request. So just putting that out there. And that we understand that we're going to wait to see how Smart Whips goes with ARC. The committee has still kept a lot of the applications and the response rate very low. They're churning through very, very well on those.
What's the backlog?
It's less than 20. I mean, they're churning through as fast as they can. The challenge that the committee is still seeing right now is the requests that are coming in. They're very complex. We have a lot of structural modifications where it's additions being made to properties. We expect that those will continue. Just as a heads up, we are leaning on Jeffrey a lot for those. So we anticipate, obviously, there's going to be an associated charge for that. So we're going to try to watch that. The committee's not sending things directly over to him anymore. It's going through the chair, but just that we're aware of it. Those structural requests that come in, they're pretty complex, and they require Jeffrey's.
That's why we hired him.
Do we think the fast tracking when putting these on the auto adjudication is
It's helped a lot, like especially with things like the doorbells and paint and all those pieces and the ones we have to approve tonight. That's helped a lot. It's just honestly the communities we're doing stuff, so it's good that people are applying for it. But it's just making sure that we get those things tried and reviewed quickly, as fast as they can.
Well, I just want to say kudos to the committee and you
It's all the committee.
for getting that backlog down, but you led the charge.
And
to Jeffrey.
yeah, it's definitely been a team effort, and we think it will get better as Smart Webs continues to be deployed out.
I don't want to be out of order, but just a question too, with the upcoming election, we talked a little bit about expanding to 7 committee members. Is that something that's still, just as we start thinking about how do we like potentially?
The challenge isn't necessarily the number of committee members, the challenge is just the volume. So there's still a sentiment that we should maybe look at, does it make sense to divide the committee into what they actually review? So in other words, is there a group that handles these complex requests and then someone else that handles the more routine pieces, as need be, because that would help facilitate things as best we can. But simply adding additional people, the committee is pretty good now at being active. So they're getting forums, they're getting things voted on. It's more of just the volume. It's still just a volume play.
All right, any other committee?
No, you know.
Finance has a meeting on Friday, so no updates for them. And Technology committee, I was trying to push for Gallagher to get pushed out by the end of the year, but not going to happen. Just more issues running into making sure that it's fully functional before the home deals themselves. That'll be hopefully a Q1 project that they continue to work with. It's very sophisticated. If you ask Don, that there's training. So rather make sure we get it right before it gets pushed out to the homeowners.
Perfect.
So Artisan Park just had their annual meeting and they released a call for subcommittee candidates for next year as well. The finance, maintenance and lifestyle subcommittees. They have all 5 seats open for artists and residents to apply. And they also have a robust holiday season filled with fun events and activities to look forward to in 2025. And then for special events, a lot of great events. Always check the Friday Flash. But I do want to draw specific attention to a very popular one, the father-daughter dance. I know the tickets are going to sell out really quick. So January 10th, they become available. And the theme is Taylor Swift. I'm super jealous. They're gonna have a Taylor Swift cover band and it's gonna be like so
So she's
cute.
not gonna be there?
I mean, it's like a replica.
The budget's a little.
I mean, well, we could, if you want to talk about budget, but anyway. So it's gonna be like it's a really great event. So make sure you get your tickets. I'll be like hiding in the playground trying to listen in, so.
They'll see.
You can go as Travis.
I can
We'll
go
get
as
you
Travis.
Travis. jersey.
Destroyed.
I look nothing like her.
Dead ring.
That's right, yeah, sure. Okay, thank you. Let's see. Oh, no, you got yours, right? You got yours. You don't have any. You're, all right. How about CCDD? We now have a new CCDD, it's just so hard to say, liaison, which is Greg Filak, back in the back of the room. We'll get his update. CCDD.
Greg Fowler, CDD. I am no longer the chairman, yay me, after 4 years, decided to step down on that one. So Tom Tuesday is the new chairman for CDD, with Dave Hugh as the vice chair. I am the liaison for CROA, so if anybody has any questions or anything like that, I'm getting a little bit caught up on some of the specific things that Jack was working on. I know there were questions about trees that I emailed on earlier, so I'm trying to get some backstory and some emails, documents and stuff. So I don't know, the discussion earlier on was specifically what email you got. Something from Dave Sharma, that was something we got 6 months ago, discussed in our meeting 6 months ago.
Okay, yeah,
I
I
thought we discussed as part of our board package, well, where.
yeah, okay, cool.
If you have any other questions, thoughts,
Any questions for Greg?
complaints,
Apparently, we've got someone who wants to talk about the board.
I already got that.
Oh, okay.
Well on our way, sir.
With the data type report, is that gonna be done later this month that you can share with the program?
Yeah, so what we had a presentation on that, great question, because as I was looking through it, I had some initial questions on there. The presentation last night was a summary, so they only picked as an example out of all the parks and amenity areas, they only picked one just as a sample in there, just to show, hey, here's what you will see in the final report, that this level of detail be done for all the amenity areas in town, so they went through that, as well as the comparative analysis with other communities. They picked one in Texas, I think it was, that they had done some that were local here, and I asked them, why did you pick other areas that were not geographically close here? And they were looking at demographics and size of the community and other stuff. So we talked about that a good bit. So those types of things. What we got in the board packet and talked about was they were more samples of each one of them. The full report that they're saying they'll get in, sound like the next 2 to 4 weeks, notwithstanding holidays, we'll have each one of those blown out. That one was close to, I think, 80 pages. So once they fill it all, I mean, there'll be a couple hundred pages of stuff to set through there. So yeah, as soon as we get that, like I said, that'll all be public information anyway.
So yeah, when that's completed, and I think they're starting the design in January.
So they won't be doing any design stuff yet. We still have them on hold. We had only approved to go through, they call it the 60s. I think this is the second phase. There was dreaming something else, designing is the next phase that we have not approved anything yet for. So
Do you think it's appropriate for us to get boards together for joining after that report comes out?
up to you guys what you want to do. Like I said, we'd left it on the table with, I think, some of the thinking things from y'all's end. I know you guys were focused on 851 and everything else. So I think up to you guys, the discussion of when you're at, where you're at. Our board has left that open-ended of when and where you guys are ready to talk.
I have a question. I was gonna send an email, but I'll just bring it up here. And I looked at the report in the board packet,
Mhm.
and there's one thing, I know you said this isn't the final, so I figured, you can go back to them and let them know that, when they were calculating the amenities,
Mhm.
they are short on a few. So like, I think for playgrounds, it says 5. And if you count, North Village as 2, we have 7. If you don't, we have 6.
Okay.
For gyms, it says we only have 1 when we have 2, including Island Village now.
If you can shoot me some notes on it. I know they had looked, the one thing they did say I don't think they excluded, but they did some classifications.
Mhm.
They talked about some of the spaces where we would call them passive parks, and I'm gonna make one up because they didn't bring out a specific example, but I'm thinking like maybe Savannah Square or something like that, where we
Yeah,
think of it as a park because it's got a few benches and it's a congregating area. They're thinking it more in terms of more of an active park. So I know there were some classification things there, but I don't think a gym or playground would come out. So if you could send me a list. of
yeah,
that,
because
that'd
they're
be cool.
comparing it to like the national averages and it shows lower, but if you have like, if they put in the right ones, we might be more in line.
Yeah.
I think also, classification, you brought up a good one. The fountain downtown, they called it a splash pad, but I don't know if you wanna find out more details on what they call like a splash pad, because I don't know if that.
And some of those definitions, I even got into, if you looked at the list, they had a whole page of things that they would measure us against, and some of the stuff I looked at, and ice rink and what were some of the, there were ones of.
Now it's snowing, it's fun.
Ice, they had they had ice, they had a few other amenity things that they measure baselines against, but I kind of looked at it and said, no, I don't know if
Yeah.
that's anywhere near where we're at. So it's helpful if they do the comparative analysis, but some of that
Yeah.
stuff I just kind of tossed to the side. But yeah, if you think they're missing things, and I won't, to the point of the classifications, because they only did the full expose on, they picked the North Village area
Mhm.
as the one where they did the 3 pages. That's the only one where I actually saw how they classified it.
Yeah.
So we'll have to get the full packet to see, okay, where did you start categorizing these things before we can go back and say, okay, here's what you missed or definitionally do they.
Just like, yeah, just to tighten up the final.
And I have no doubt when we get however many hundreds of pages, there are probably going to be just as many questions on some of those things. So there'll be some.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So yeah, absolutely. When that becomes public, appreciate any constructive feedback on that we can make it more actionable.
Any other questions for Greg? Thank you so much. Very good.
That's this for the rest of us.
And now it's foundation time, and I see Kathleen sitting back there in the back, along with Greg, hiding in the back. Hi, Kathleen.
Good evening. Hello. I am all holiday. That's what I'm talking about. We had marketed for the foundation, the happiest holiday week of the year. We should have added an S. So it really all started with the ornament event with Parks and Rec. And then we had up at Island Village Clubhouse. It was a win for me, seeing the residents and myself decorate a few ornaments. But again, Buddy the Elf continues to steal the show every time he arrives. Then we had it right into Giving Tuesday, which is a global movement for everybody when they're done shopping on Black Friday and Cyber Monday to give to nonprofits. And I was notified that day that our Learning Without Hunger program was awarded $100,000 from the Osceola County Board of Commissioners. So it was a good day indeed. Then we continued to our weeknight Wednesday holiday concert that kept me up many nights, but it was sold out. And our survey results are in from 400 guests. And our community just shined so bright. They had wonderful things to say. They did not complain about the parking because they said the spirit in the community was just all holiday. So kudos to all of the residents and all that we do. Then on to the Sparkle Soiree, the holiday home tour and magical marketplace. Again, our community continued to shine for our tour attendees, but it's always the spirit of generosity from our Sparkle Soiree and purchasing and giving back from our designers, decorating and donating. We sold out in record time. And we continue to shine throughout the weekend so much that by 2:00 on Saturday, we realized we would have nothing left to sell for anybody that came later. So our basking building committee went to work and I said, just do it publicly like Disney does. Just sit here and start making baskets. And they did. They had a great time. Then we went right into making sure our fit students in our community have a holiday to remember. And that actually started at Friendsgiving with, this group continues to amaze me. Celebration K-8 PTA, Celebration High School PTSA, and the PTO at Island Village collaborated to a Friendsgiving where they asked people to bring board games, fuzzy socks, gift cards, and once again, the community of Celebration delivered. So just to put some numbers out there, we have 22 fit students in Celebration K grade. We have 101 fit students at Isaac Village Elementary, and we have 78 fit students at Celebration High School. Each will receive a specific gift, fuzzy socks, and a $25 all-day gift card for their parents through the holiday, board games, school spirit shirts, hoodie sweatshirts, and winter coats donated from Corpus Christi Jacket Drive. So without that collaboration with all three of those school entities, it would not happen. So I can't say enough good things about that. And then finally, for the holidays, I'm almost done, was that net parade. Oh my gosh, it gets bigger every year. The foundation is proud to support the sheriff. We typically did one in the front, but now we need one in the back. 35 vehicles. The town the community just embraces it. The residents in their, footed pajamas waiting on the side of the road for the candy. It's just really a sight to see. So if you've never seen it, put it on your calendar every year or join in. So we'll shout out to Celia because it's all Celia on that one. Scholarships are open. If you know a high school senior, they can just go to the Education Foundation website like the Common App, they type in all their information, and then they'll get emails about what scholarships apply to them. Then we are going into, dare to say, 2025 with Community Connections, January 10th at 3:30 p.m. Then we're doing our porch parties on January 12th, still looking for some porch party hosts. Paul Dunlop, I see you and Ann. The British Invasion from Epcot, that played in Epcot, our next concert, January 25th at 7 p.m. And then we will be actively seeking volunteers for the Celebration Marathon and the half marathon. So you listen to me every month. This month, I'd like to say happy holidays to you and your family from the Celebration Foundation family. We see the gift of time that you give to make our community a better place. I jumped on a tour bus with 64 women from Hernando County that really just could not say enough how lucky and blessed we are to live in this community and have the spirit of volunteerism that we do. And you're the leaders on that. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you. And just to, for elucidation, because sometimes acronyms confuse people. FIT is Families in Transition.
Yes.
I just thought that someone might be, what the heck is a FIT kid?
And that is just a student that does not have a permit.
Thank you again. All right, we have our committee partner updates in the bag. I think we move on to the consent agenda, which is 8 items long. These are all things we discussed at the workshop. So do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion. Consent agenda.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Now we get into the meat of the matter, which is action items, starting with we need a motion to approve the extended scope of work for Kalik Group and the contract amendment on the Town Hall 851 project. Motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Discussion.
So I think the question that we kind of went around a little bit on at the workshop is reminding everyone of kind of what we're getting in this next phase. So the next phase is really for them to start to pursue a design for refurbishing and repairing the existing structure. I don't know what it would take for them to, at the same point in time, look at if they would provide a recommendation on if we were to knock the thing down and rebuild something else within not just the same footprint, but within the loft, understanding if there's a way it could be reimagined. I don't know what the cost is. I know at the time of the workshop, we had discussed that going out for that, we technically should go and do a bid process to get an architect to redo that.
I think it's not unreasonable, though, to ask Kalik to look at the remodel, rehab, restoration with some things that could be with just an overview, not a complete design of a new building, but they kind of did that just with a little more detail, a little more fleshed out. And plus the ideas that we've gotten from others are to take some of the existing spaces as part of a remodel and add a little more space possibly.
A question on that. I think we did discuss adding more space.
Mhm.
And the problem was the parking constraint.
Yeah.
Um,
And parking is going to be our biggest constraint to doing anything other
so I don't,
than expanding the footprint.
but
I mean,
I
Stay with the same footprint.
to like some suggestions as well, utilizing the space in the hall more. I believe with this scope, they're gonna give us a design, like a floor plan of everything. So we'll see how all the space is going to be utilized, and I'm sure we could make change if we decide to, continue, make changes to that to utilize more space.
Yeah, because even in the design that they showed in the current iteration, like if we all can imagine standing in that big hallway space, that weird circle column thing, the wall's gonna be out to where that is. So there's already gonna be.
So they got those out of the middle and shrunk the space.
Yeah,
Because it is the biggest wasted space.
Yeah, so, but I think to your point, Katie, it's yet we know that that gains space. We don't know how much it really gains.
Plus, there's the closet from inside the room into the room. So it's kind of twice that.
It's twice that space. Yeah, exactly. So I think, to me, I would support if we could go with them and just say, we kind of want to meet in the middle almost on, we don't want to go for a complete rebid with another architect firm and figuring out what to do there. But I do think we should just ask.
Well, for example, on the idea that Mike, just say, what would this do to us if we wanted to add that space? Just some of those questions that they don't have to go into heavy duty design work.
And I think too,
unless we decide we want to do that.
Asking to, I would just be curious, is there a reason the building is of the existing footprint? Like, is the reason the building fits in the footprint that it is because that is physically the dimensions that you can build on that space? Or if they come back and they say, well, if you moved the parking lot or did something weird, then you could figure this out. Parking is going to be the challenge that we're always going to see there. But I think posing it to collect to just say, if you had a blank sheet of paper with this lot, what could you do?
Just again, not
an idea,
not a detailed plan, just
just a shape.
And we saw the value in that, I think, with the playground, right? We asked them to come in and design things, look at this. So I do think there's value in getting their perspective and kind of reimagine it. Like,
yeah, I think that's probably a very reasonable ask within the scope of the current contract. And I think that then they could come back to us if they said, we're going to need a little extra money, then we can do an addendum.
Yeah, and I would support that, with giving them a little bit extra money to it, because I think to me, that would help me make a better informed decision on if they come back and say, this is the shape, and because of XYZ reason, it's the shape. But if they say, well, you could really do this and it could be a triangle or something and you could gain this, then that would maybe spur me to go, okay, maybe we do need to look at this for an RFP. Going forward with this existing step doesn't preclude any of that. It's just actually getting us the answer of the remodel.
So that we can move forward.
Yeah, this is still information we need.
Yeah, right. This is information we need. We can't continue to re-litigate this thing. We will talk ourselves into not finishing it until 2030 if we keep doing this.
Well, because the way that I look at it is, even if we were to decide and vote tonight that we wanted to put out a RFP for an architecture firm to do a redesign, I'd still want to move forward with this with Collect.
Yep.
Because I still need to know what the answer is there for the.
Yep, I think I'm in agreement.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted is kind of brought up is if you're facing the building from where those patios are on the right, that's useless space in my mind. So
patios on the right.
I think that's what
Yes.
Mike was referring to. So
No, he was referring to actually the one on the left, the one behind the offices. Because he said two
where the
walls
dance
and roof.
is.
the one facing the
The one facing the parking.
The one facing.
It almost, in looking at it, right, you have your main structure and then you have that back building.
Yeah,
When they do the design, right, can you almost put an L on the outside of it to get a little more space?
that's a
For a
question.
living look, and not
Yeah.
a whole rebuild.
No, I totally agree that that's
Is there an
great question
opportunity
to
for
say, look at the lot and can we do a little more? Because maybe we can't, but my guess, and this is what Mark Machiro said, and he is an architect. He's a very talented architect. He said, you can't add much more square footage to that building without running up against county ordinances for parking.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I don't want us to keep getting sidetracked. We have to keep that in mind as we keep making these.
But again,
Having the
it's fine to
development.
ask for an overview. I think that's a reasonable.
And then that might be where you build out to the side, but you take out the back building, so then you have a bigger parking lot, However, if there is requirements of parking to space, how can they do that? So giving them the freedom to try to do the best they
To
can.
get creative.
And we're open to suggestions on
Yeah.
what that solution is.
I think we're all in the same, a similar.
Should we call a question?
I'm going to call, yes, let's call the question. All those in favor of issuing this contract?
I
Aye.
want to just make sure we put the
Oh,
150,000.
It's in the contract. 150,000. Aye. No nays.
that's from capital improvement, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, okay, sure.
All right, now, pool heaters, as discussed earlier,
I'll make the motion to approve.
the $44,930 reserve fund
Yep.
replacement for Spring Park. Second discussion.
So I I read this, one of the questions that I had was, I know we were concerned about Symbiont with it being a heat pump system. We were concerned about it just getting parts, and we were looking at what that explored. One of the, and I don't know, in the original packet, I think it was just a typo, but it stated that the 7 seasons, 7 days was providing a geothermal estimate, but when I read their estimate, it was a heat pump.
It was a heater.
Yeah,
It wasn't even a heat pump. It was just it was a high voltage heat pump.
So
Heater.
I think just for me, I just would love to hear a little bit of context color on why we would still recommend going with Symbiont in this case.
Just before you do that, too, to tell on that, from what I saw is that geothermal is our only option of the system. So before we even worry about who we're going with, it sounds like the other heater options are a non-starter.
But we could do them, the operating costs just look.
The operating costs.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
not starter.
exactly.
Can we get some numbers on what the difference is in the operating costs? Because to what management said, having Symbiont, they were, and maybe you can kind of like chime in, they weren't responsive. And there's like only one person to repair that heater. So like in the area, contractor aside from Symbiont, who was non-responsive in the beginning. And I'm just wondering, like, why continue with them for this pool if we have an option to replace them at a lower cost? With which one was it? Not 7 days, but there was another one. here.
We have two.
Yeah.
Vermana and 7 days are almost similar price.
Okay, so like, I know the thing is, the geothermal is, they say is lower electric costs in weather where there's big drastic changes. I don't feel like we have a lot of drastic change in weather here, so I'm kind of wondering, like, what is the cost differential?
So the difficult way to answer that is that we don't have anything before, like, when you guys open, you have senior. That's what we have. So right now, if I'm gonna tell you how much electricity you're gonna spend more now, I can give you an average. The average consumption for the senior is $6,000 a year. A heat pump is $33,000. So when you combine that, so you're saving $20-something thousand on energy, but that's on a start.
And that's because you're picking up to a much higher wattage.
Let me explain you what is the difference between the Symbiont and the heat pump. Symbiont have two wells in here on the ground. The water on the ground, on the soil, always gonna stay at 75 degrees, 76. That's no matter what outside is 40 or 100, it is 75 degrees. That water running through the system on the pool, guarantee that your pool always minimum gonna be at 75. That is still a cold temperature. We wanna be like 85 to be in a good, nice pool. So the Symbiont only need to work for 10 degrees up. So that means the running time is minimum, right? Versus the heat pump that only use outside temperature to cool down. If you have a 40 degrees now from December to February, that unit gonna froze up before you're gonna heat the pool. We're gonna need probably like 8 of those, based on the capacity of the pool. So yes, if parts are available, you can get people quicker to do the response. Every single company, major company that I brought, like Vermana, they give me a quote, but they also told me, my recommendation is to stay with those.
So they
recommend it, yeah, have a piece on writing.
Competitors say,
Well,
stay
that's
as-
what
I have an email, I have an email from a Spies, local company in Kissimmee, saying person, that's the best system you can use for your pool that you have right now. Plus you guys invested on the wells, on the pumps, and this one will be a like-to-like replacement. If we change the system to a heat pump, that's gonna require permits and gonna delay more. Another thing is, if we want to change it, and you say, no, but I don't want that system, we can put a rim system. It's a heat pump system connected with a gas system. So now we need to be either propane or natural gas here. So we're gonna have an extra charge, permits, construction, all that stuff. So it's more options. I also bring a solar company, they're gonna try to come. They don't wanna be able to come to look at it until mid-January, that they can put some blankets, whatever. They have bigger area, they have universities, all the stuff, but again, how long gonna take them to come
Yeah.
here to convert it? I don't know, they're gonna be months.
Now, to the maintenance, which I think is part of the problem. And can we, given that we're gonna give Symbiont a bunch of money again,
So Symbiont it's a preparatory system, so only their technician are.
right, but what I'm saying is, can we request that they keep parts in stock?
So normal parts they will keep in stock. For example, compressor is something that you cannot keep on the shelf, and that's the failures that we have right now, the compressor. Every other part, electrical contactors, those are the same as the AC, those are available.
So
The problem is the main issues like the compressors, those stuff are 2 to 4 weeks out. Again, these ones are 14 years old.
I was gonna say that I think
If we get a new one,
these are ready to be replaced anyway, no matter what we do.
if we get the new ones, like typically, how long does a compressor stay good for? Like, is it something we're not gonna have to worry about?
With the proper maintenance, like in-house proper maintenance, plus their service every quarter, the compressor can last 10 to 15 years.
Okay,
They're a guarantee for 5 years. So the first 5 years is under warranty, you don't pay a penny, it's covered even on the labor. After the 5th year, then everything go out and then you will need to pay for it.
and what, I think I read in here, was it 4 to 6 weeks?
Yeah, so right now there are 10 weeks out. I was able to move them a little bit and they put on writing 4 to 6 weeks to be installed from the moment that we signed the agreement, 4 to 6 weeks complete,
February.
installed.
Yeah.
Now, to that question, just to the next one, the compressor for Lakeside, that is, what's the turnaround time on that?
So that one is 2 to 4 weeks. It was ordered last week. That was at the beginning,
So we could have that compressor in as soon as a week.
I don't wanna stall you.
I'm just saying
here,
as
but
soon as.
yes, yeah, it's 2 to 4. We already have.
So we're 1 to 3.
Yeah.
So we would have a pool functioning within 3 weeks.
Unfortunately, not according to the schedule of the resurfacing.
I forgot we were
Here
resurfacing,
that will work, but the pool.
but there's no water.
Yeah.
Ah, never mind.
But then that one, we were able to lower it to, cover on their warranty until next month. In January 2025, they expire. So we were able to get almost $13,000 discount. They don't give it at the beginning.
You're good.
I find you paid it. So we got that one gonna be fixed for $2,300, done deal. I'm doing the.
So that pays for this other one.
Pretty much.
So this team, your team has experience with maintaining and repairing, you're saying in-house, this is all through.
I have experience. I'm licensing for HVAC. Those are basically HVAC equipment.
He was a bargain.
I will be.
Those HVAC.
Call the question.
All right, all those in favor? Oh my God.
No, I mean, geothermal is the solution, but why are we getting other options besides geothermal? So is Symbiont just have a monopoly on geothermals in Florida that there's nobody else that would even provide a bid or?
Is one newer company coming out? I believe, if I'm mistaken, I think it's KB Heating. It's coming with a geothermal, but they don't even answer my callbacks. They look like they're at the beginning process and their unit are smaller. These ones are 90 BTUs. Theirs are 65, 75. So we will need
It's a 90,000 BTU.
90,000 BTU units.
So I mean, that's where I'm looking at this and we don't have enough.
We have no other choice.
If we want to do it light to light quicker with that system, geothermal, using everything that you guys already put on it, I would say yes. And we just need to keep it on.
Those pumps weren't cheap and those, well,
They're
No,
not.
and I think to be clear, we didn't really have issues with these until the last 3 years or so. I mean, we just had a lot of issues, but they lasted for quite a long time
over 10.
without us having a huge hiccup. If I
And then
remember.
something that I get on this 44, that if you read on the quote, talking to them, I was able to get a free system for us to be able to monitor this by an app. And if it's Saturday and something happened, somebody need a warmer, from the app, we can do it. We don't need to send nobody here and change it. So we can monitor everything from a phone, and that was.
So you got that for free and you got the discount too?
Yes, sir.
Dang, you're good.
He's maintaining.
I'll call the question on
Yeah.
action B.
All those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed out of their minds? Okay, no.
I'll make the motion to approve Lakeside pool heater repair by Symbiont in the amount of $2,319.15.
Second? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Yeah,
Thank you for.
Thank you very much. I am truly impressed.
Warranty by pump.
Yeah.
I am impressed. All right, now we move along to the motion to approve the management company contract and accompanying performance metrics.
So I'm gonna make a motion to approve the management company contract and accompanying performance metrics.
Second. Second,
I'll second.
second. All right, discussion.
So I was trying to find, the and or one that we had the comment about earlier.
It's on
the metrics, the one where
Yeah, under the.
most of it, under data source.
Are you comfortable changing that to the end?
Lauren, Jacob. I think and the reason behind that, so team, I need you to chime in here, but the reason for that was because we have those two different sources. And let's just say 1 month, everything's in GoGov. The next month, it may be within Ceranet and GoGov. I mean, I guess we could do but I mean, if it's not, right, it just covers both bases.
So regardless of, if it's N and or, you can kind of skip out of one side. You're only approving one. And if it's 10, if you get 0 from internal maintenance, you get 0 and the other one is counted. So
Yeah.
that doesn't matter. So in that example, N should be fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll make that change.
And then, yeah, I know comment earlier, but we currently have an exhibit B for on-site,
Yeah.
page 98.
Yeah.
You were going to strip that out?
Yeah, so what we did, hold on, let me.
The data is also.
Because the performance metrics we have is exhibit B, so I don't know if we have to move
Yeah.
that to exhibit C, or we were gonna take that off of exhibit B and kind of put that in A.
So within the agreement terms, which is currently labeled as Exhibit A on the top, right, that's our pricing. If you scroll down to on-site staffing services, organically, we call that Exhibit B. However, with the metrics, right, we've labeled that as Exhibit B. So what we've done is made it pretty simple. We're gonna keep Exhibit A on page 1, remove the words Exhibit B, and just leave on-site staffing as the header so that we can utilize Exhibit B as called Exhibit B, meaning the performance metrics. So
It just becomes that.
it just, yeah, so Exhibit A is both
That
of
makes
those, right, both of those pages.
Yeah.
And then Exhibit B is the grading metrics.
And then on that same page, commencement date, you need to change
Yeah.
it to January 1st, 2025.
Yeah.
Yeah,
My version.
my version said one. I had a version that said 112.
Just the one that.
We need to make sure it's one.
Yeah.
I agree, yes.
Yeah, the one we have,
Make sure it's one.
we'll resend again if we need to as well.
So, I think those were the two things that I saw. Just tying up those loose ends.
Yeah, those are good loose ends. Anybody else?
So you had a comment though about wanting to do the 1 year. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, so. All right, so under our bylaws, an initiative to the board, an initiative is a petition for action signed by at least 2% of owners eligible to vote. An initiative allows owners to place a new proposal or reconsideration for recently passed board action before the board as an agenda item at its next regular board meeting or at a special meeting of the board, but no later than 30 days after the receipt of the signed petition.
Mhm.
So that's what there. We received at 2:13 PM today,
That's not a signed petition.
93 signatures.
Uh,
But again,
hold on,
hold on, can I finish please?
Okay, sure.
So 93 signatures came across our board. We are trying to get this done before the end of the year. I need to acknowledge that we give it time tonight and it's there. And again, I'm for what we currently have. I'm not trying to switch anything or anything. It's just acknowledging that there was a percentage of our homeowners that is thinking differently than the rest of the community, which is fine. Different opinions are valid. But that we acknowledge, we truly vote on what we're going to proceed with. So some comments I just wanted to make. The proposal that was brought for seminar, a 1-year contract at 7%. So the two issues that I see with it are that, one, you're locking in the cost at 7%. We're getting 3 3 years at 5%. So that is also already a more costly proposal. The second one is continuity. And I know we were having concerns of if we hire talent, are they willing to stay? Is there some type of stability for them to stay in the community? If we do a 1 year, I think that puts it at risk. If we do a 3 year, that at least provides some continuity for people that are getting jobs within the management company that works for us to stay here and know that they're not gonna be out of a job in a year. So those were two.
Yes, to the Mike's point of keeping employees. Yeah.
So those were the two things that I just wanted to make sure was said and give attention to that. Yes, there originally was between a 1 and a 3. I believe the 3 years is a better term. Regarding the RFP, there's nothing that says, once we sign this 3 year, that we can't bring an RFP anytime next year or in the future. So that's still valid. But I just want to make sure that it's out there that.
I just want to go back to but I want to go back to the petition, because there is a format to petitions that were done, for example, on the pickleball. They have to be done and they have to be verified as each individual homeowner. This is a change.org petition, which anybody can sign. So it would never count.
I understand all those legalities, but with the bullshit we just did with the recall, not the recall, the recount.
Yeah.
This is timely, whether they're truly 93 or not. I just want to make sure we're in front of it and we acknowledge it.
And let me tell you,
so there's clarity for all our community.
if there was a petition down the road, we could come back and revisit things, but.
So, okay, either contract has a 90-day out, correct?
That's correct.
The 3 year has a 90-day out. The 1 year has a 90-day out. Why would we pass on the additional costs to the homeowners? It seems like we're trying to send a message.
No, I mean, that might be it, yeah.
I'm trying to understand it, and this is the meeting where we do it. Okay, so what is the justification to pass that on? I understand the argument to go to RFP, and quite honestly, if there's not performance, we have the performance guarantees. I'm gonna go on the record and say in July, when we get with CROA on the cost sharing arrangement, which we're going to have to do, we need to look at that. But right now, we've had discussions ad nauseum about stability and getting you all to perform. Okay, that's not a guaranteed contract. No, we bail it 90 days.
It's a 90-day contract for all intents and
For
purposes.
all of us.
That's correct.
Correct.
For both sides, that is correct.
And the comments tonight are truly due diligence of, we are here, we're ready to make the decision. I think we're in agreement on what that decision is, but
We've talked
this
to
is
that.
how we got here. We looked at the alternative and I don't think the alternative is better. So that's why we're voting way well short.
And July, so my comments on it, July, by the time we get to that meeting with CROA, because we did say July was when we were going to come out.
Yeah, yes.
We're gonna have 6 months of data to look at with the performance metrics, and we're gonna be able to see, are you meeting it or are you failing? To be honest with you, I don't know where you're going to land. I hope you're going to bring in the resources and put your money where your mouth is. Otherwise, you're gonna pay for it. That's the reality of the contract.
But again, look, I gotta say to all of us and the community, I mean, recently, let's look at the quality of the hires. We have had some really extraordinary hires as I look around the room. So I'm feeling a whole lot better than I was when I got elected. But we see what happens.
And we got those hires with them not knowing if we're doing a 1 or a 3 year. But I am thankful that we have them. And I have already, I mean, I have already made my opinion public.
Shall we call the question or do we have anything else?
One final comment I'll make is, even though we as a board are approving 3 years, we had to approve with a performance metric. So clearly the message is out there that grant managers, you have to perform the first 3 years. And to keep the contract, you need to put additional term in. So hopefully this is a continual trajectory where I think we as a board this year have kind of turned the corner a little bit on the trajectory of performance improving. Yes, there's still a number of issues that still need to be fixed, like the dog park and other things that we brought here tonight. But hopefully we're now on the upswing to a better celebration. And Brad Manners is there and putting the people in place, and those people will execute in what we expect from a management company in celebration.
Anything else?
I think this will be it, Don, and I'll be quiet on this. I want to reiterate that we keep saying it's a 3-year contract. Typically, when I sign contracts at work, if I terminate the agreement within that time period, there's a penalty. There's some sort of, you signed a 3-year agreement, you turned out after a year and a half, balance of the remainder of that agreement. That's not in place here. It's 90 days. And it works both ways. You can fire us too in 90 days. So we'll put that out there as well. But there's no, to me, it's not, I don't want to say it's not a contract because it is a contract. But to me, it's more of a pricing agreement. That we're agreeing to this pricing structure for 3 years. And that if we turn around and we say in 90 days, this really ain't working, then it ain't working.
But just to add to that, it's more than that. It's a joint agreement that we're both gonna work a whole lot harder on making this relationship work better.
Well, and I'll toot my horn with ARC, right? No one
I thought you said it wasn't responsible.
well, I will now, but no one has complained about ARC recently.
No,
I mean, at least bubbled up to the board level.
by the way, walk outside, look for.
And I think to me, the piece is that there was a lot of issues that we solved both from the committee side and management team side on communication with residents. And so I think if we can continue to work in that direction, then let's keep working in that direction and I'll be quiet.
I think that's awesome. Anybody else?
Lauren, you brought up modifications to this contract before the board meeting by email. What's the status with that?
It's not currently.
It's not in,
brought up. Yeah, it's not in here.
it's staying as it was.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nays. 4-2. Now on to the incredible list of recreational and civic group contracts. I hope we're not gonna go through each.
I'll motion to approve them.
I'm okay, thank you. Motion to approve them all.
Second.
Second, anybody want to discuss any of them?
Please.
Please, no.
Take the Park and Rec's recommendation.
I agree. All those in favor? Next up is a motion to approve release of pro legal counsel memorandum regarding the discarded ballot.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Discussion.
This is just merely, we discussed at the executive session to release what we discussed at the executive session, but there's the legal letter from Charlie that we didn't specifically call out that technically is a legal communication. So then this would just.
We have to authorize.
We have to authorize that.
Yeah, under attorney-client privilege.
I just want to say though, before we do to management, we need to make sure it's the corrected version
Yeah, the second one.
and just delete the one with the errors. So it doesn't accidentally get emailed or have to be re-emailed. So if we could just make sure it's.
Any future confusion.
What's the mechanics for the release? Is this just going on the website behind a login? Is it in an email to the community?
It's-
What's the?
I think it, to me, it allows it to be part of the public record.
Yeah, it's just part of the public record is what
Do we have
I.
a page with the amendment also on the website? Like, park it there?
Under the ballot. Yeah.
Well,
That's
but that
easier.
page will time out. So do you want me to put it on the CROA board page in your document section?
Maybe what about like resolutions where we keep our resolutions?
Is there, okay, all these pages that we're discussing are available via the public, no matter if you're a member of the association or not. What we're voting on is to make it part of the public record that a member of the association could request. Which typically is not broadcast out to the public. So it's two different things in my opinion. One is that we're either making it so that if someone wants to request it as a public record, they want to see it, we can email it to them, same as a public records request.
Yes, that's what the motion was for.
That's what.
That's why I assume
Fine, release.
we're removing attorney-client. We're not putting it in
wouldn't
the
necessarily
magazine.
broadcast it. There's no super secret sauce in this. It's what we already discussed anyways.
Just want to make sure we define release and what that means.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just,
Waiving the attorney-client privilege, then, okay, we're good.
Yeah.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? G, fee waivers, motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve fee waivers.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion to approve payment plan requests?
Sorry, for the record, G, I need to abstain.
Oh, okay. So it's 500%. H, payment plan request, motion to approve?
Motion.
Second? All those in favor? I, lien hold request, motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to request.
Seconds?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Now, we're moving on to the discussion items, which we've moved every which way, and which, by the way, we can actually discuss. Because we still have a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
So I guess we start with management update. Is that where we're starting?
Yes.
We move it.
In process of time, would you like to just, is there any questions?
Yes, that would be a better way to do this, because I'll read this, but let's ask the questions. I just want to get a status on the fountain issue at Hippodrome. I feel like I ask about this every meeting, and then every time we get told, yes, someone is coming to do it, and they're gonna, what's the latest on?
That project is closed and complete.
Because the fountain's not working.
A Hippodrome?
Yep.
It's running yesterday when I looked at yesterday.
Depends what time.
Is it on a timer?
It's on a time.
Yeah.
It's on a timer.
So it works some hours, but not other hours?
I believe it worked from 7 in the morning to like 8 PM or 9 PM, and then it shut off overnight.
Or we can have the timer reviewed.
I have a young question.
Well,
Just to save electricity.
yeah, I didn't know that it was.
At any time, so.
I guess you
it's up
could
to
change it.
I can
Most of
resend it, I can
All
keep
the
it.
fountains turn off. They have an off time.
I'm not out that late.
I was gonna say, late at night, I don't see any timer, any fountains running, so.
But if there's specific times that you're seeing it off,
Let me see if it's during the day, no action needed, then I'll let you know.
if there is, let me know.
I will.
We can look at that.
Yeah, I definitely will.
Because I've been watching it since our last discussion, and it's been like, I was like, look at that good fountain, just yesterday.
In
So,
fact, I went by it yesterday and went, but the park looks so nice and the fountain.
It does look nice, and the fountain does look nice.
It looks
yeah.
like an English garden.
Yeah, that's right.
Really gorgeous.
Okay, thank you.
absolutely.
Any other questions for management? Katie?
How is for Spring Park? Do we have like kind of like an update on when that resurfacing?
On this resurfacing
Yeah.
project?
Correct.
The interior resurfacing, we tried to walk that with the project or the vendor yesterday.
Mhm.
The pool is set pretty well. It's filling up as we speak.
Okay.
Next steps are the acid wash on it. The deck work is next. The deck work is going to be a bit more extensive, and that's going to delay our kind of turning over to the fire up process. This fire up process is a 2 to 4 week process. That's when you look at it and the pool looks full and looks ready. And it takes just time for that kind of new stone to cure on daily scrubbing and chemical adjustments by our CQ Aquatics team. So like that's where we are just finishing the fire up process on Spring Lake.
Okay.
And then it goes through just a re-permit or just through the health department to open that pool back up. That is where we're at now on Spring Lake. So it's ready. We're looking at ideally opening it Monday.
Spring Lake.
Spring Lake to open on Monday. It's only pending approval from the health department.
So Spring Lake Monday, and any estimate on Spring Park,
Spring Park, we're still looking right up against that 10-week timeline on it.
which would be,
It closed just before Thanksgiving, so that's
so
good.
like kind of like February?
That would be,
That fits right in with our.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, like,
Yeah, yeah.
when it opens, the heater might be
Yes.
then
Yes.
available.
Mhm.
Okay,
and Christian, am I correct that you have a plan to bypass the 2 broken ones on that? So even if Spring Lake opens and the new heaters are not installed, it's on a 4 heater system. 2 are compromised at the moment.
Spring Park.
At Spring Park.
Yeah.
And Christians worked on this system to bypass that, so we could still operate with the 2 functioning system. It's not gonna be what we want, similar to Lakeside operating at reduced capacity. However, it's better than just absolute. Yeah,
So, yeah.
that's kind of that's the backup plan, but
And then, any updates on the countertop for Island Village? Okay.
yes, demo started on that yesterday. We should have the installation start tomorrow.
Okay, and have we heard anything from 360 on the shade structures? Right now, is anything?
Yes.
Okay.
Christian, you want to speak on that? I know we were
So-
just.
No, we don't.
I've been looking at the permits, and then we're handing on a few stuff. One of them is the 911 letter that I found for them.
Mhm.
They don't submit on time, so like everything's not getting behind. I went to the in-person there, talked to the people that I know there. So we get a one for
East Village.
East Village approved.
Okay,
today. So that one is sort of approved. I talked to Jennifer after I get the approval. She's calling tomorrow to talk to the vendor. They're gonna build the shade to move that one forward.
okay.
The other one is just waiting for the GC to answer some questions with the engineer. When he answers those, it should be good to go, and then they're gonna set.
So we're starting production on East Village.
Okay, and I think, did they give us a timeline on once the production would be for
They're gonna give me that tomorrow, so I can make
Okay.
it, then I can figure that.
Yeah, if you could put that in our management update for Friday, what, like that expectation is for at least
Yeah.
Island.
The Production timeline they gave us is quite expansive to
Yeah.
the last ones. It was like 10 weeks, give or
Yeah.
take, and we received them much quicker than the 10 week
Okay.
mark. I'm expecting a result back that we're gonna get more of a generic production
Mhm.
timeline
Initially.
initially.
But that's fine, if you just want to
Yeah.
give us a heads up. Thank you.
Anybody else?
The fence at the dog park,
Yeah, we made a note of it. We were,
we're gonna look at it, okay.
Yeah, and I, sorry that I interrupted. I'm part of that, committee, for the dog park. So I have a company was coming to look at it, but the actual committee asked me to not do it, any day of the week beside Monday. So I need to specifically schedule for Monday and the company was busy. So I'm expecting them this coming Monday to do it.
I can't get anyone from a fence installer to call me back right now either. So
What is our action plan for the photos that we saw with the drone?
so at the last dog park committee, we discussed the possible town hall with dog park users to talk about alternatives or a level of expectation of wear down before we start replacing sod, because there was some discussion about the expense of continuing to replace sod. So they were talking about trying to schedule that in January, so we could have an open public discussion with users and all have some similar expectations, because some expect it to be an immaculate park and some are okay with some of the wear and tear.
It seems to be an oversight issue though, of the vendor. So I'm trying to reconcile what you just said with that they're not maintaining it.
You mean that the
The
sod's
vendor?
down?
Yeah,
The sod in the dog park is gonna die because the dogs are running on it and just tearing up the roots consistently. There is a vendor issue, there was a vendor issue with Prince and Sons that you had, that park was pretty much all weeds, and now we're in winter and the weeds have pretty much all died. So now we're getting more and more dirt.
Yeah, I guess overall, I mean, I know you're saying wait for the dog committee and everything for their part, which again, they should have some, but
I mean,
as the
we
management
have-
company, you have a dog park that you should be maintaining and it's not.
We have a quote to replace the sod, and we can put it in front of the.
But again, I think it's been in this condition for what, 3 to 6 months now?
we
And
keep,
we're now just getting a quote?
We've had it for a
And
while,
they
we've
showed
had
up-
it for a while, and the dog park committee asked us to pause on replacing.
But again, you work with the board, not the committee.
What would the committees make a
I
request?
know, they can make requests, but still, we need a functioning dog park. And if they say, hold up, that's something that we need to hear too, of what's the reason for the holdup? Because we could have approved sod 3 months ago, and then we could have made sure that you guys were ordering it to make sure there's a condition that's appropriate for usage.
we also have a vendor that knows the condition, so that's their job at the end of the day. And if they can't maintain it,
We discussed this, we had the vendor or at the meeting 3 months ago where we discussed this.
Was this
There's
Brian?
also, yes,
Okay.
there's also the issue of if we replace sod or even patch replace sod, that does mean closing the park after that because it cannot be utilized directly out.
until the roots.
So there's downtime.
Which again, I think the community would understand, if you're putting down sod, there's a time that it needs to grow to then be able to use it on consistent basis. And I'll pose this question, maybe to Demetrius, because I know you look at other areas, but there's gotta be other dog parks that you guys manage. You have the same issues there or not? And why do they have no issues there if we have issues? So what is the best practice of how to run a dog park and why are we not doing it? So again, nothing, not coming at you harder than that, just something to help out these guys that they're here on site and maybe they don't have that expertise or know what best practice are and things of that nature, which again, nothing against Jacob or Myron, but work with them to put a solution together that works so that the people that use the dog park can actually enjoy it.
Yeah, I don't like seeing what that, no, so that, we really need to get an actual action plan, and if the town hall is great, that's fine. But if it's lip service and we're not gonna actually do something out of it, we need to figure it out. Can I acknowledge you?
We put a grass seed and spoke to Brian about throwing grass seed down. He thought it was a great idea for all to buy a bag of grass seed for the residents, as they've got soil there to fill in holes that the dogs might dig, to just throw some grass seed down. But to be honest with you, you can resod it. If it's not being watered, the grass, which it's not, I've been there 8 times between 11 and 4 in the morning to see if there's any sign of any water. It's not being watered. You can regrass it and nothing's gonna happen.
Yeah, so let's get a definitive for the next workshop. Let's get a definitive on, I want to know like when it's being watered, how much water is being put down. If there are problems putting the water down.
But not just that the schedule is saying it's watered, like.
No, somebody actually make sure that
Yeah.
water is falling, and you can put little measuring
Yes.
devices on the grass and measure the water. We need to know
Yeah.
that the water is hitting the ground, how much is hitting the ground, when it's hitting the ground.
And can we consider the grass seed option? Because as a resident, that seems more sensible, a $50 bag of grass seed than a $50,000 bill to resod it twice a year. It just seems more logical that if it's being watered and we threw some grass seed down, let's see how it goes. But to do nothing, it's just gonna get worse.
No, that's why I want to, yeah, let's find out first the water. And then if the water's working, then we can discuss what programs work best.
Question for the Dog Park Committee would be, yeah, seating would be cheaper, but you're probably gonna wait longer for it to open up and that.
Or maybe we need to bring it up to sun and then bring it.
You do an additional slot to get it back when it's big and then you reseat after that, but that's a conversation for the committee.
I disagree. We've been told that the watering comes on twice a week, Friday and a Monday night. We're in Reedy Creek in that point. I've looked at the maps. Why can't we put the watering on just the grass area more often? Why does it only have to be half an hour twice a week? If it is coming on twice a week, because I haven't seen it, can't we put it on each night on the grass area for half an hour?
You'd have to talk to Brian, but I believe why you do it only twice is so that the grass is strong, where if you do it every single day, it's a week of grass you can tear it up.
Well, and you get, in Florida, you get that dollar weed, like crazy.
But to be honest with you, anything.
Yeah.
It's a dog park, it's not a cricket pitch.
Maybe we should put something like
What's your
clover down. A lot of people are sitting with clover.
That's a great idea, Tom.
And clover holds up really well. But let's look at some options. Let's get Brian in for the first workshop. That make sense?
Yeah, and then one last thing for management, I don't know if there's too much knowledge or you're still researching it, but it seems like Grand Matters and the CCD are in dispute on trees and grass around surrounding parks and who's responsible for cutting and maintaining it. Is there anything in particular that you can share regarding that issue? And I know it's still under discussion where you're at.
She would service areas too.
Yeah, so with the tree, the recent tree, it's a easement discussion. And there were 3 down trees during the hurricane in front of Island Village in the easement. That's for CDD to write their trees and correct them, because if we damage them, then we're gonna have to pay to replace those trees.
So
We
they're
made-
responsible for replacing, put them there.
Yeah, we maintain the grass, we maintain the mulch in the easement, just like a single.
Just like a
family
homeowner
home.
does, yeah.
Yeah, and the same thing, we had this discussion with CDD, with Craftsman, with the tree that fell down, I want to say 2 or 3 storms ago.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
That was just sat missing for quite a while until, we got a bunch of GoGov tickets about it.
Sorry.
And they bounced back and forth between us, and we finally came to resolution. And then Greg and Cindy last year were on the email string, and it was from CDD to replace the tree that was down during the storm.
And there is no doubt that CDD owns the trees and needs.
Yeah.
But there is.
So we're not saying that we don't maintain the tree, or we don't put mulch in the easement ring. We maintain the sod. And if we need to trim the tree more than CDD is going to trim the tree per their agreement or for their standards, then we talk to them first and then get their approval before we trim the tree with an arborist.
So that is being actually Parkview right now. That's an issue where I guess the attorney said it's a liability supposedly to trim.
The CDD attorney.
So those are the types of things I think we need to push back on. At least have a conversation with them about, because I don't that doesn't really pass the sniff test.
I agree, that was something they modified last year or early this year.
But I know you
It's
said,
because
you said
it's
it's an email, but isn't there something
falls.
that says who's responsible for what? Isn't there a document that both entities can say, this is who's responsible? It says it right here. It's said it since 1996.
I have a problem with immediately like shifting costs to them for a service that CDD provides, and they just now say not provided. Well, or you need to substantiate it with, okay, if this is the opinion, then provide it, but so far I haven't seen anything, so how do we tee up
So
that?
I think to me, so I actually don't want to have a meeting with CDD unless we have something to talk about. I think it's just coming to talk together about.
Sorry, I mean
what we're doing.
management, so like you talk
Oh.
to Angel, yeah, manager to manager, like let them figure this out. We don't need to get involved from board perspective on this, but you all need to be able to come to terms on this. and figure it out.
I think the only catch that I would have there is that if they don't get anywhere, or if it's everyone saying that it's not our thing, then the boards have to get together, because then the boards tell their respective management companies what the heck to do. And so to me, if it's one of those pieces where if we come back and in January, Lauren tells us, we've talked, we're still kind of at a stalemate, then yeah, let's have a joint.
We're constant.
Yeah.
So these trees in front of Island Village are a perfect example. We received GoGov tickets that they were leaning on the ground weeks after the storm. We reached out to CDD saying, please write these trees. And it was the fight of they're not our trees. And then then they finally did come and remove the trees. Correct. And
Yeah.
and then we had the same fight on
I'm
they were
writing
going
this
to
down.
install the trees because the tree installation would be on us.
But
Yeah.
whose trees were they?
They were there.
CDD.
But they
Every
just didn't.
Every single time we open discussion with tree, it starts from zero. Every single time with every tree.
There's a number of email strings back and forth with them that we copy back an original email from earlier this year where we got the resolution on the craftsman tree. Greg did email me this morning, copied Angel and Dawn. I did respond to him with kind of a brief synopsis and offered to meet with him and or Angel to discuss anything. And so we could try to come to some sort of resolution so we could direct our staffs.
And we must,
appropriately.
be careful, like with the park view as an example, if we touch it once,
Right.
we set the precedence that we have now accepted responsibility.
And they're
So-
saying also not to because it's illegal.
No, their
That-
attorney gave them advice. So CDD earlier this year or late last year put out a communication saying that they weren't going to trim past the sidewalk line onto the owner's property because it was a legal liability for them if they damaged something for the property of the owner.
Yes.
Since, yeah,
They had CDD.
I brought it up
CROA
and I
to say-
guess it's already traded, so
Yeah.
if it continues to just go nowhere, then please get us involved. So
Yeah, I mean, he's
Yeah,
copied.
Don-
Yeah, I'm copied on the email, and the email gets into, they're basically telling us to prove it,
Prove what?
that they own the streets.
It's their easement.
We send them the Osceola County property.
It's on the property records.
I'm just reading from the email, that basically it says,
So years ago,
Sneaky way to get rid of a
Yeah.
responsibility.
yeah,
We had this conversation we just had in the Q4 condo council. It was the largest topic item was these trees. And the conclusion of that was that the condo council was to take a group to the CDD board to raise this issue.
I'll put it this way too, right? That homeowners pay CROA, homeowners pay CCDD. So the homeowners are gonna pay for it, whether it's one entity or the other, figure out whose responsibility is and take care of it. That's all that we need to do.
right, but we do not want to set a precedent that we own
That's a
and
big
take care of all the trees. That's a big expense.
Yeah,
we have to
if
be
it's
fair.
not,
It's fair, like, you can't just now shift the responsibility because you just don't want to do it and something has changed. That's their responsibility. It's their tree.
I think that,
Why are we automatically like shifting the cost to the homeowner?
I think the challenge to me is the trees are now more expensive.
Well, that, and
Increase your budget.
Yeah.
I do recall, and I am speaking totally from an aged memory. But I do recall that there were rumblings way back when I was on that board, that maybe technically if a homeowner lost a tree, they were responsible for it. There was talk like that, and I think there was, since then, there may have been a little push of the lawyer to, I'm guessing, this is conjecture, to find something to keep them from having.
But this is all written down somewhere. Someone just needs to look this up and figure it out.
I think it sounds like they did.
It is, but it's not, it's about as clear as mud, because basically they own them. But the homeowner or the owners are responsible for the maintenance of that strip. And the argument was that we've been, out of the goodness of our heart, maintaining those trees and replacing them. And again, I'm working from memory, but we really don't have to.
I don't want to say let's bring our
It's
cancel.
what it's gonna mean is,
But we need to maybe think about.
it's.
Do we need to have a tree workshop with the CDD? I don't know. Yeah.
No, I think, actually, Lauren, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the lawyers need to talk to each other.
They can have a workshop.
Yeah,
Okay, but we need to put, I don't want,
because they're all arguing over law, right?
lawyers are gonna cost a lot of trees.
So.
Not that many trees. The lawyers are cheaper than a tree.
Conversation with Greg and Angel first to see
Yeah.
if we can iron it out, and then if we need to bring it back up, we can bring it back up.
That sounds good. We'll do that for the workshop.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else for management? In the interest of time?
No.
All right. What all do we need? Because we have 20 minutes left and I don't know how long these things are gonna take us.
I just want to talk about bank fees.
What?
Okay, go.
What? Which one, Rick? Andrew?
I was gonna say, I can close to the next three pretty quickly.
Can you? Good, cool.
So EV chargers discussed, tech committee. Well, there was a bid for 3,700 just to hire someone to inspect the BTC 50 kilowatt units. And they have been working for 6 months. I don't know why the hell we signed a contract with no charge when we didn't have EVs that worked at Lakeside. So the recommendation from them was take them out. That clearly they're gonna be too costly to maintain. Any contract to run them is gonna be on our dime. It's not worth it. The level twos were already taken out last year. These, unfortunately, I don't see a way forward unless you're gonna spend a lot of money. Not really worth it. So for this going forward, I think we just need to provide management direction to get a bid to take.
So we need to agendize that for next month and get them out.
Workshop.
Yep,
We
okay.
own them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We physically own?
Yeah.
Probably sell them to somebody.
And to correct any misconception, they are down due to vandalism. The emergency stop button was kicked into place and that theoretically killed the systems.
Yeah.
And the other thing about having them there is that they become attractive to tourists. And it's a residential park, so yeah, let's put that on the agenda.
So that's that. Next one, Repro Solutions. So they have DaySmart. Nikki from Parks and Rec is supportive of using that. I know there was talk of trying to move over to O&R and have the application through that, but this sounds like a very plausible solution that Parks and Rec is already behind and technology supports as well. So
More robust.
that's,
DaySmart bought out Rec Pro, and it's a more robust, better system.
We never actually launched Helena's, right?
Yeah.
well, that's where I'm gonna get to next.
That's hard.
But no, that's where RecPro is up in the beginning of next year, and this is a solution where I think it's very positive overall, so I think that's the direction that as a board we should move.
Okay, cool.
And then O&R, yes, so where we get to, right, the whole point of O&R is having this grandiose one application for everything from what we do at GoGov to what we're gonna do with DaySmart and RecPro. So clearly, O&R is useless at this point, that there's no reason to proceed down that path. We have GoGov for the work orders from our community. We will have the DaySmart for the RecPro solution. There is no need for O&R.
It looks like we don't have to do anything then.
Well, yeah, that contract's up. That was just pissing away money that was a 3-year contract paid in full that we will not use at all. So it is what it is since we came on as a board, but O&R is dead. No point in going in that direction anymore.
So the SMS piece is covered by Sear is, are we still doing SMS at all? That was
SMS is Sear then.
That's Sear. Got it.
Ballot County,
Can we jump to bank fees, actually?
bank fees.
I saw that this was a big discussion last year and there was a lot of conversation about this. And from all the emails that I found that we talked about, they were charging the fee. This is for dues transactions, they were charging a fee of $1.95 as a bank processing fee. You were involved in that, Stacy, and you spoke with the bank and to make those fees go away, and then 68 residents were credited. And then if the bank refused to waive future fees, GM would absorb the cost going forward. So what changed that now there are fees for people that are making ACH? I understand when you make a credit card transaction, that's a different thing. But it's now changed that now all ACH transactions now have a fee. What changed from when we talked about this?
The bank made a decision to start charging them effective November 1st, I believe is the date. So it's essentially completely out of our hands because the bank is charging it on their website when you go to pay via ACH.
But they were doing that before.
Yes, and now they won't remove them. They used to play nice and now they aren't.
Should we change again?
Well, here's the thing, I mean. I hear what you're saying, and yes, it wasn't there, now it's there. I don't like that either. There are other alternative methods of payment that don't cost any money, and so it is a convenience fee to pay your dues without having to put it in the mail or other methods. So
I just worry that we, every time dues are due, it's a different address people need to mail it to in this town. Like, because sometimes we're at town hall, sometimes it's 52 Riley Road. We change things so much because of things that I feel like I thought this was resolved and GM will absorb the cost going forward. That's what it says in the email.
Don, regarding your comment on should we change, I reserve that for the finance committee to review. They haven't yet.
They haven't reviewed this.
We have a meeting on Friday.
Yeah.
Now, what are the two fees? Just there's the credit card fee, which is what, 3?
2.9.
2.9, and then
Which, sure, that makes sense.
the HCA fee.
Anytime you pay by e-check or ACH.
As a one-time payment.
it's over.
There's a one-time.
Reoccurring are not charged.
Right.
Oh, they're not charged one time when you set it up?
No, so.
No, you're turning.
Basically on auto pay,
Yeah.
then you're not charged. But if you're doing an ACH and manually paying.
Oh, so if you're on auto pay, you don't pay, because I'm on auto pay, so I didn't see anything.
Correct. Even if you're set up an ACH and
Oh.
paying monthly, you do have.
Any of your other communities commented on this? I wonder if we want to maybe.
I'd say on an immaterial basis. I mean, we hear about it very infrequently, right? I live in a condo association. I choose to pay my maintenance fees electronically every month, not auto pay. I pay $1.95 because for me, it's convenient. It's a standard fee that a lot of banks charge for that convenience.
It's not that, it's the fact that we've already addressed this and you've already said this would be.
But seems like they changed
It
it.
was decision has, again, we don't have anything to do with the bank making decisions on what they want to do. So it's a CIT, again, for citizens decision.
I guess
not
the
Grand
other
Meadows.
thing, can you look into who is paying this certain way? That would be the fee, because there's people that pay by paper check and then automatic payment, everything else, if they do it through CRNet, right, they're not gonna get that fee, so. What percentage of the homeowners are we talking about? 5%,
We can
10%,
report
20%?
and see that.
Yeah, that'd be cool to know. I'd like to know that anyway.
I have a question,
Yeah.
clarifying question on the fee. So like, if your bank sends the check,
No fee.
No fee.
No. fee.
okay.
Right.
Right.
So if you go on your bank's website and you send the check, then you don't have to add in a fee.
That's
Residents
correct.
not add.
That's correct, right? So there are other methods where there is no fee. This one, unfortunately, the bank made a decision to change their.
If you go through the CRNet and then select ACH or,
You're gonna get $50.
then it'll add in the
If you're
fee.
through CRNet, set it up for the auto pay, so you don't get it.
Yeah.
If you need to pay it outside of that, don't use CRNet, use something else. Use your-
Go through your bank.
I can't live without the auto pay. I was always spacing out.
I just mail cash.
What's your address again?
Yeah.
You put it on the box with the flag up, right?
The flag up, yeah.
I'd love you more and more all the time. Debbie, can you drive by Eric's house on the building?
Sure.
I do think it would.
You look less suspicious than.
Yeah, it would be helpful though if you could get that information for the finance committee for Friday.
Good enough.
Well, that's pretty bad, but.
I mean, that's just a report.
It should be a report, right?
Is Belinda doing anything from a communication perspective?
Yeah.
So is Belinda doing anything beyond the blast to the community? Like where else are you messaging that?
Do, something on it, about it, so like a synopsis of it.
But where are you parking that ongoing? Not just like the,
The community notice section of the website.
and then they'll get the pop-up when they go through the banks, when they go through their process, they'll get the notification.
Yeah, so when you log into CRNet, you click on pay your bill, it keeps you to the bank page.
Can I ask a quick question about the electric vehicle charging? Has anyone approached somebody about taking over the charging points and paying the town rent? Because that's standard protocol now in the electric vehicle charging field, where outside contractor comes in, they take over responsibility for the equipment, and then they pay you for how much usage is used for the space. So they basically rent the space. It seems to me to lose a facility in town of something for the future, i.e. electric vehicles. We've lost all of the NEV charging points down the town. To lose electric vehicle charging points, I appreciate the town doesn't want the maintenance of them. I completely agree with that. But to have a third-party company, for instance, BP, I know, they sign up. They took half of the churches in England, and they've got electric charging vehicle points, and they pay rent for those spaces. Would that not be a good idea to look at that for downtown Island Village, probably even at Town Hall when it's reopened, rather than just getting rid of it?
Yeah. So, bring that to the tech meeting. Down on that side, we'll see if there's an option.
I'll drop you an email.
Because I know we reached out to Tesla, Lisa, Tesla would only do 8 out of the 8. So they're not gonna do it.
I can email you the guy at BP.
Yeah, that's the line into the tweet.
Yeah.
All right, anything else on Ballot County?
That was bank fees.
I know bank fees already done with anything on Ballot County.
Still curious, like what procedures, like the ballot counters were working off of? Like I know what legal provided, but like the actual procedures where it says to discard certain ballots.
I'm trying to find anything in our historic archives. Debbie didn't have anything specifically stating that in writing that she could find.
But, the 2019 one, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So who like authorized that 2019?
Along with CROA legal.
But that's not what you sent us.
I don't have a 2019.
So when we do elections, who's responsible for making sure they're done the right way? Grant managers, right?
We don't
You don't-
manage your elections. You have residents that do the elections for you. We don't touch the ballots until they're already put in the envelope.
So nobody tells them what to do. They just
We provide
decide on their own.
providing the guidance from the legal counsel.
So what we were given,
But that didn't go to management. That went right to residents.
I don't have a document.
Yeah, so I think we need to just have the procedure memorialized so that there's a document that can be there and then the peers will abide by
And you
that.
have
Which
an
came from legal.
Yeah, you have an updated one from Charlie for next year, and each year we'll ask them to update it to make sure we're catching any changes.
okay, the one that you did send us, CROA election guide paper ballot from legal, the one page where it goes over, there's like 9 things. It was sent on December 5th.
That was what we got from Charlie though, wasn't it?
We got that from, Tom Slayton in 2019.
So that's
I
the
was-
2019 one?
Yeah, I was upset because he's a lawyer and he didn't bother to put his name on it or letterhead or even date it.
Yeah, because
But
that
we
was,
had the email where he sent it, and it's 2019.
was there my question, I guess I'm still trying to figure out is there an additional something where it says to discard certain ballots?
Yeah, Florida statute. If you look at Florida statutes, there is a lot of, we don't do this, we do this. Your Florida legislature wrote that. And Tom Slayton distilled that down into the.
I was gonna say, the Slate, it's in the Slayton email, letter.
Yeah.
that, you know, it says, the inner ballot containing the envelope shall be marked disregarded, and all the ballots inside shall not be counted. You know,
It came from Florida statutes.
and that came from Florida statute.
Yeah, because I wouldn't read, because just it says in our charter, it states that we follow DBPR or whatever it is. And so I went, ignored everything the lawyer said.
Yeah.
And went to DBPR. As a layman, I read it and I said, yeah, they didn't comply with this, so we shouldn't do it. But then come to find out, there's been case law where people have challenged that.
That was before 2019. That was.
But that's a problem where people should have been reviewing it annually to make sure that whatever the volunteers are handling.
But that's why I'm saying, why is management not involved in this and why is that not happening?
It should
And it should, I would say it should have been.
be CROA.
Because prior to yeah, the lawyer should have done it. That's exactly right.
But
Our lawyer is supposed to make sure that we're in compliance with Florida statutes,
Yes.
and that's not on management.
But I would say management.
That's on us, actually.
Management, 3 months out from any election, should be with the attorney to confirm that everything is in statute for procedures.
Well,
So
that's gonna have to be authorized by us.
Well, then maybe we need to authorize that so that management is prepared from the get-go that.
But that's not authorized before.
Well, I think we need to. Clearly, someone has been sleeping at the wheel and there are changes in Florida that we need to be aware of.
I'm not disagreeing. I think that's a very worthy thing to put on the January discussion for an agenda item.
Because again, I would say 100%, there is no blame for the ballot counters on this.
No.
Nobody's saying that.
And I know, but please to make sure that.
No, I think
We
that
appreciate the efforts that
2019
you've
letter
done,
is
and they're there. It's management and legal to figure out that they're providing proper direction to the volunteers so that ballots are being taken care of and counting correctly.
I will be asking again for us to re-interview new attorneys, and I'd like to do that search again. In fact, the people that you sent us today for that class, maybe they do that, they do HOA law, so maybe they.
I don't have any problem with looking out for a new HOA attorney. We've had the same firm for a long time.
Do you want me to issue a similar RFP to what we did?
The same thing you did last time was fine,
Just
I
like
think.
more updated.
Do you need a motion for that?
We can't.
I know we can't, but I'm asking, do you need
I don't
one?
need-
Okay.
Okay, I think that results in.
Okay.
Yeah.
We are up on it here. We have GH and I still.
Service area liaison?
I'll be quick.
You bet.
I will be very quick. So I've been in the service area liaison seat now for a month since Felix resigned. And you want to trade ARC?
No.
I really wish I had more time to add some comments.
But again, this can go to.
Yeah,
to January.
so I'm gonna just be very candid and blunt. We need improvement in the service area big time. We have major gaps in communications. We have major gaps in project oversight. We have gaps in just doing the basics in service areas. And I'm just gonna be very, very honest. I think it's time to look at a reorganization of the functions and who's there. And obviously, you know, I know some stuff we can't comment on here, but do we have everything in the right place, the right people, the right process, the right tools? Because right now, there are 14 service areas. We're adding more. I have interacted with 5 or 6 of them, and all of the committees generally have the same pains. So there are systemic challenges across every service area. And I think at this point, there is a pattern.
This is something that Jacob and I have talked about.
Pretty much since he started. And step one,
We're formalizing processes to implement January. That includes treating them more like mini boards, notice public meetings, meeting minutes, the whole 9 yards. So it protects both the committee and the person serving them. So they're all in agreement in terms of what happened at that meeting. I think more frequent meetings for some of them would be beneficial instead of just the quarterly meetings. We talked about utilizing the CROA monthly reports to kick out to the service areas. So there's more transparency, more information being pushed to them, and more communication.
So this is all good, but in the interest of time, by the workshop, if we can have an actual action plan.
Yeah.
And I think coinciding too with I don't know if we're in the works of scheduling the town hall that we talked about. It would be good to be able to potentially roll some of that out
Yes.
in conjunction with that. So, yeah, that service area is.
Just occurred to on that, you know, great that you're saying all that stuff, but get the job done, right? That's what it comes to,
Yeah.
that you don't need to do all that stuff if you're doing the job, you're doing it correctly. So focus on that process, and if it's people, let's change people. If it's process, let's change the process. But Jacob and yourself, I don't know if that reports up through me, so that's gonna be under Jacob, but put that action plan together for us.
I have spent more time in the service areas than in any other committee, in any other thing on the board in the last month. And some of these things have escalated to the board and they could have been resolved right away. So
A plan would be great.
we need a plan. We need actual attention on this, quickly.
What's age?
Staff or, organizational thing. You know, let's kick this to the workshop. We need to talk about turnover. I think it's a big problem. You've heard Mike and Gary talk about it. I don't know how we tackle it. I don't think a performance guarantee is gonna cut the muster.
Just real quick.
Yeah.
Lakewood.
What?
We haven't had turnover late.
No.
No, we've had some new people, but.
No.
But we have.
We were back.
Say the last 3 months. The
Yeah.
last 3 months has been lower than it's been.
This has been, and I think this, again, this is something we do at the workshop, but I think that this issue has been lessened a little bit.
It has.
By changes that we've made, by bringing in some great leadership.
It is. So, yeah, I think it's a lot of it is high performing teams, right? How do you build high performing? How do we dig in a little bit more? So we need to just dig into that at the workshop.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
We have email.
What's the? What's the?
Oh, email, just quick thing was, when management sends out communication with reference to any committee, that it runs by the committee first, so they know exactly what they're being tied to. I think people were caught blindsided, and just a courtesy and a community.
I think that makes sense. All right, motion to adjourn second.
Second.
We're adjourned. Let's take about 2 seconds and.
And be
Yeah,
on
ready.
time.